Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another webinar by Royal Cyber. Our topic for today is Introduction to Data Driven Privacy Operations. My name is Pratik Nilkund, and I head the data governance practice at Royal Cyber, and I'll be your host as well as speaker for today. Now, before we start, I want to talk about a little bit about Royal Cyber and today's agenda. We are an IT consulting and digital transformation company, and since 2002, we have successfully completed over 1,500 projects for over 600 happy clients. We have gained significant recognition from our customers and partners worldwide over the years, including some Fortune 500 companies for providing best in class services and solutions across multiple domains. We are a team of 1,000 skilled resources globally distributed through various delivery centers across the globe. We are headquartered in the United States with offices in 9 countries across the globe, through which we provide reliable and high performing governance, commerce, cloud, analytics, mobile, and middleware solutions and services. Um, we offer end to end services right from assessing the as is state and design of current implementations, identification of value added use cases. Uh, Thereafter, we develop and prioritize implementation and expansion roadmaps. We explore custom integrations and finally provide training and rollout assistance. So, this is how the agenda looks like for today. We'll walk through at a very high level some key US privacy trends in 2021, after which we will take a closer look at delivering privacy and privacy by design, leveraging Collibra Data Intelligent Foundation. So we are at this point. I would want to mention that we are Collibra partners, and uh, we have been using it for quite some time now to build privacy frameworks across different organizations. Just a little disclaimer here. We are not lawyers and are not offering legal advice on any questions pertaining, specifically to GDPR, CCPA, or any other regulations, as well as being compliant with those regulations. We request you to consult your own privacy experts and legal counsel. We do help in operationalizing regulations, leveraging partnerships with leading tools like OneTrust, Big ID, Collibra, and Informatica. We have also recently partnered with Alation for data governance and cataloging. So, we have identified some key trends we believe will define the world of privacy. So let us look at some of the matter, not a matter of if, but a matter of when points. The call for a federal privacy law will grow louder. So state privacy laws, they create new and significant business challenges, especially for organizations with widespread operations. To avoid this mix-up of data privacy laws, which would drive higher compliance costs and could slow business growth, it's widely expected that there will be an increased push towards a federal privacy law. uh, More companies are moving to a single enterprise-wide privacy strategy. The struggle to comply with these increasingly stringent privacy laws across geographies and industries, it has in a way put a strain on many data privacy and compliance teams. In addition to that, the cost of compliance has also increased significantly. So we highly recommend choosing a unified enterprise-wide data privacy strategy. Although it requires significant research and resources upfront, once implemented, the you know it can significantly reduce future efforts, though. And this is also the route most companies are looking to take. Well, you know, you talk about GDPR or CCPA, there is a strong focus on third party risk management, and it will continue to be a major focus. And there'll be a lot of dependency on vendors, suppliers, uh, to demonstrate compliance for partnership. And many surveys conducted where consumers prefer to associate with companies or businesses that are in a way privacy focused. And cannot stress enough on how important transparency will become for organizations, especially B2C companies. And consumers will also, in the process, become more aware of their rights and the dollar sign that stands next to their data. So trust will not be a nice to have addition to businesses, but a must have. So having said that, let's move on to the next slide, which kind of represents the landscape of privacy across different US states. And we can see the ones in red are already been signed with California, Virginia, and Colorado, and others are in the process. So states are taking the the privacy of their residents pretty seriously. And we've seen that California was the first one to follow the footsteps of the GDPR, but other states are soon following suit. So this brings us to the Collibra side of things. For the rest of the presentation, I will be extensively uh, covering some of the major concepts, data inventory and mapping to start with, and I'll also demo these concepts a little bit. Please note that these can be customized as per the requirement of organizations, but because Collabora does provide a very flexible operating model, and the the same story can be said in many different ways. So one of the most important steps of a data privacy program is to create an inventory of all the personal data processing activities within your organization. So if you don't know the type of data you collect and how it's shared, processed, and stored, it is difficult to know if you are meeting the privacy requirements. So it's also difficult to know where data resides in order to be able to respond to situations where individuals exercise their personal data rights. For example, the data subject access requests or the DSAR. While the word inventory may imply a static list at this point, it should be a living record that reflects how personal data travels through or moves through the company's business processes and changes over time. So here is an example of, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, uh, of customers as the data subject category. Uh, and, this is these are the different processes, the new launch, a new product launch campaign, print media, advertisement that use customer information, and this talks about the legal basis uh, uh, of how the data is collected and the purposes for which this customer's data is collected. The red and the yellow. The red is referred to as technology assets within Collibra, as and the yellow is are the data assets, which are like data sets, tables, columns, right? So here it shows that, as an example, that okay, print media advertisement, it leverages the customer product sales data set, which is part of the raw database under CRM cloud system. uh, and this is what we've done is we've just seen customers as the data subject category in context with these different assets. Assets is again a Collabra terminology, but how these are interlinked or intertwined together. Right on the right hand side, we can see that just the metadata information on customers data subject and a legend to represent these different assets and what they mean as well. So without further ado, let's log into the Collabra system and see this in detail. Right. So here is the uh, privacy dashboard, and I'm just going to there's a search filter here. So for demoing this concept, I'm just going to use customers as my search, and I'm going to click on customers here. Okay, so I see that it has its information in many data sets. So this is again a trial sandbox. So it's flooded with certain linkages or relationships. But if I look at the diagram for this particular customer data subject category, and the moment I explore it, I see what are its uh, you know where what is it linked to. Okay, so these are the data sets. Once I clicked on explode, the legend was populated with a new legend, which is a data set. Now if I want to explore this a little further, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to explore this data set. Right, I can see that what does it what does this data set link to. So I can see that it links to specific standards. It links to different data categories, right? So data categories again, what category of uh, customer information does it fall into, right? So it can be geographic information, demographic information, social media, behavioral in this case. And we can also see that it's linked to uh, a process called enrich customer information here, uh, and this kind of helps us uh, to navigate or understand what uh, relationships exist between these different assets. And the moment I click on any of these assets, either a data set or a data category or a business process, I can see the metadata on the right hand side. And again, these can be built out, these different diagrams within Collibra, but at a high level, this is what we get, right? So we're not just viewing customers and understanding what this data subject category is, but also identifying this particular data subject category in relation or in context to these different assets and how they relate to each other. So this brings me to the next concept, or the next functionality, which is the PI discovery and classification. Uh, Now, personal data is, PI is personal information, or and personal data is any information that relates to an identified or identifiable person, known as data subject. Unrelated pieces of information, which when collected together can lead to the identification of a particular person, are also considered personal data. De-identified or encrypted personal data, which can be re-identified to lead to a person, is still personal data. And some of the examples of personal data can include, name, address, location data, any ID that can uniquely identify an individual. And with the help of Collibra, what happens is that the privacy stakeholders can quickly and accurately locate personal information through PI and PI discovery and classification feature. They can document how it's used and what purpose, and for what purpose through the business process management. Also monitor compliance progress for GDPR readiness through regulatory and management reporting. So here's an example of a data category called payment card information. We can see through this diagram that there is a linkage between payment card information and restricted data, which means that it's been classified as restricted data. And what is restricted data? It's classified as data is classified as restricted when unauthorized disclosure, alteration, or destruction results in significant risk to the organization and its data subjects. It requires the highest level of access control and security protections, whether in storage or in transit. So, uh, again, here it's an example of, uh, firstly, they're defining what restricted data means for your organization. Generally, it's part of a classification policy, which comprises of different standards of how you define different types of data: public, private, or restricted. Then there is a data map, which second step is to first classify these different data sets and data elements to what uh, you know what category it should belong to, right? And the third one is to understand what all data entities, attributes, and systems are linked to this restricted data. And again, let's head back to Collabra for a bit and try and understand how this works, right? So again, very similar to the last concept that we went through, which is data inventory and mapping. This is highly customizable, because Collibra does provide a very flexible operating model. And let us quickly have a look at what how it can be done. So I'm just going to go to the classification policy first, um, which is a part of Colibra's policy. A quick way to go to see all the policies is by going to the policy manager. So here we are. This is the data classification policy. The metadata is for this policy is present here. If we scroll down a little further, we can see that it has, it groups certain standards. This policy groups certain standards, which is, private data, public data, and restricted data. Since we were looking at restricted data a few seconds back on our uh, presentation, so I'm just going to click restricted data now, and here I can see that this is the metadata for restricted data. It applies to these different data categories, or it encompasses different data categories like burial information, biometric data, claim information, many different data categories here. But let us scroll down a little bit and look at payment card information as one of the data categories. The moment I click payment card information, I'm going to give it some time to load here. It's it kind of showcases the different metadata. We can see here that it contains credit card expiration date as one of the data attributes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit diagram and look at restricted data in more detail. I'm just the labels are disabled, but I'm just going to open it up a little bit. It says that it contains data attribute credit card information, uh, and the moment I hit explore, right, I can see you know what are all the different linkages. So we can see now that the credit card expiration date for a counterparty entity, and it's linked to the data model, financial stock exchange data model. And if I explore the payment card information category itself, I can see that it's also linked to a process influencer marketing. And if I explore the credit card expiration date data concept a little further, I can see that it uh, these are the different uh, models that it links to. And for customers, or employees, this time I'm going to just explore employees now. I can further see that it's what are the different assets that are linked to this particular to this particular asset. uh, and if I further, I can just go on exploring as to what are the different relationships that that these assets have between them. And the starting point here was what restricted data is, or rather what payment card, and we started at payment card information. That's why I get this small icon here, because this is where we started with. The moment I click on any of these different data attributes, or data categories, or data concepts, I can see the metadata on the right hand side in more detail. And this is very helpful as companies try and discover uh, what all data is restricted, and what all data is private and public, and that way they can manage the different excesses, and uh, have higher level of security controls on something that is more restricted. Let us head back to this particular slide, um, uh, right? And we just had a look at the different functionalities here. And the next point is the business process management, um, which is again documenting how data will be used. An example used here is new product launch campaign. It um, uh, it, it identifies, where, what are the different data sets impacted, right? So in this case, this particular process, new product launch campaign, consumes consumer product sales data, and uh, it's it these are the different assets in data categories linked to this process as well. So I wouldn't be demoing this because it's very similar to uh, what we covered uh, in the previous couple of concepts. But one important point here, I'm just going to scroll, right? If I were to click on diagram, I can, see the linear diagrams. But another important part is the responsibilities, right here. Once we have onboarded all the users to Collibra, we can add responsibilities to them, either by going to the responsibilities section, or whenever we onboard a new business process, there is a workflow we can use, which is a guided workflow, very similar to many different other workflows for onboarding new assets. And we can also at that point tag the user who is responsible for uh, this particular business process. And in this case, it's John Fisher, as per our example. There are different workflows like adding a relationship, approval, ask the expert. All these are different workflows that are linked to this particular business process and can help us, you know, go a little deeper into the governance aspects of these particular business process. So this is what the business process management functionality talks about. Now, I'm just going to head over to the next slide. This may take some time, but this is a very important sample workflow, uh, the data sharing agreement, and it's one of the uh, workflows that come with the privacy module of Collibra. And in this case, right, so I'm just going to take an example here, right? Company A is a US based company, and it has recently decided to start using a particular meeting and web conferencing tool called Connection for at least this year. And we can see here that, this is the end goal, right? This is where we need to come to uh, uh, after going through this particular workflow. And based on, I've highlighted the some of the keywords in yellow because those are our different assets. So if you want to be more specific and more and want to understand this a little better, and the next slide will help, because this refers to the different asset types in play when it comes to Collibra. So party one is company A, party two is the connection, right? Contract is represented by comp A, connection underscore conferencing. It's the data sharing agreement, or DSA. It's appended to this particular contract, and the data sets here are customer product sales data, data for email campaign. Data categories are audio, video data. The jurisdiction is, the country is USA. Again, it's a US based company. So the jurisdiction is, the state jurisdiction is Texas, and the purpose, of processing. It's comply with the California Electronic Communications Privacy Act. Now, if I want to again, go back and demo this a little, I'm just going to go to the privacy uh, dashboard, and within the privacy dashboard, I can see that there are different workflows listed here. These are the prescriptive workflows, and come out of the box with the privacy module. Shows us what are the different uh, you know workflows that can be triggered. And here we see that new data sharing agreement is one. On clicking this particular uh, workflow, I can see that it prompts me to add the new data sharing agreement. So I'm just going to scroll back to my uh, slide, and I'm just going to copy the name of this particular data sharing agreement, which is created. So this has triggered properly. So I'm going to go to the data sharing agreement now. Once you can see that this asset has been created, but it does not have any metadata. So uh, you know we're going to add a description here through in this workflow is actually uh, uh, requesting what the description is. So in this case, I'm just going to mention, I'm just going to go back, and I'm going to uh, copy this particular statement, uh, add it as description here. So I'm going to remove the formatting and save all changes. Okay, so if I'm going to refresh it a little bit, and upon refreshing, uh, I can see that this step that we went through, it populated the description here. We are at step 2 of 5. One of 5 was adding, providing a name for this particular data sharing agreement, and then the description was step 2. I'm going to go to the next step. Uh, right. So here, which party accepts this particular sharing agreement. So I'm just going to add sample company, party that requests this particular information. I'm just going to, for our trial purposes, add a sample company here, which is let's say I'll go with this particular party. I'm going to say that the data categories, I'm going to use audio, and audio is one, and audio video data is another. The location of processing, it's going to be eight. Effective start date, I'm going to say that it's it's the 20th of July 2021, and the effective end date is going to be an year from now. So let's say I'm going to select okay, 19th in this case, and I'm going to save all changes again, and head over to the next uh, does what is the purpose of processing, right? So let me head back to this particular slide here, and is there a purpose? Okay, comply with the California Electronic Communications, comply. Okay, this is the one. Right, so safeguards for processing outside. Now I'm going to leave this blank for now. Right, so the data sets, again, I'm going to head back to my presentation, and I'm going to uh, you know just search for this particular, yes, this exists. And um, the next one is data for email campaign. So these are the two data sets in uh, consideration here. And how will the, how will data be handled at the end of the contract? I'm going to say that I'm going to after this uh, after the effective end date of this data sharing agreement, I would request to delete all personal data, and I'm going to say next. So I don't have any supporting documentation, but if there is a Word file or a PDF file that needs to be uploaded, it can. So I'm just going to skip it for now, and I'm going to hit next again. Right. So I get this information that you have successfully created a new data sharing agreement and proposed its characteristics. The asset is currently saved. So if I just go to this particular register, this is the new governance assets either from here, or I just go to my dashboard. Right, I just go to the privacy dashboard, and I scroll down a little bit, and I click on data sharing agreements here. uh, and I scroll down a little bit. I can see that this has been created. This is the data sharing agreement which we created. And if I look at so this is all the metadata that we added. Who's requesting, what is the purpose of processing, what is the start date, end date, all of this metadata information. And if we click on responsibilities, I can see that this group are the business keywords. If I go to the overview section again, I can see some more information if I scroll down as to the jurisdiction and all of that. And if I hit diagram, let me see if there is the data sharing agreement view here. So I'm just going to hit this uh, utilize this particular data sharing agreement view, and let it load for a bit. And I can see that all this has been created already, and it shows us with all the different relationships in place, as well as the legend, as well as the metadata uh, information on the right hand side, very similar to what we looked at when we covered the other important functionalities before this, from data inventory and mapping to PI discovery and classification, as well as the business process management. So I'm just going to head back to uh, our presentation, and just want to mention that it was a pleasure walking you all through uh, these concepts, and to demo it, as well as uh, you know uh, highlight some of the important pieces. But again, these models, these diagrams, these workflows are pretty customizable, and uh, every company wants to may want to do it differently. And again, as I mentioned earlier, it's the same story said in many different ways. With that, I want to thank you all for listening in. And if you have any questions, you would be interested to discuss this a little further, please drop us an email on this email ID, which is info@royalcyber.com. Once again, a big thank you for hearing me out today. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.